Greetings and salutations, this is Brian from Mechbladestudios. It's Thanksgiving time again, and instead of going for a gory joke about food like last year, I want to say thank you to all of you that continue to watch my videos, and to all of you that have recently subscribed. To show you my gratitude, I decided to fast track today's subject, or rather subjects, those being the remainder of the 90s Kamen Rider films, starting with Kamen Rider Zo. Okay, what is it? Zeto? Kamen Rider Zeto is a film, as much of a film something 48 minutes can be, released on April 17th, 1993. It was directed by Keita Amamiya. As the name is supposed to suggest, this is another project made to celebrate Kamen Rider's 20th anniversary, even though, like Shin, it was released after the anniversary, this one being 2 years late. Also, like Shin, this film is a standalone story. The design of Zeto himself comes across as an apology for Shin, sticking with very traditional features for better or worse. He has green armor, some sort of gem where a henshin belt would be, and these mandibles that never seem to come into play outside of the henshin sequence, though they can apparently function like a gas mask. He also gets a traditional rider machine. Looks like it goes with him and goes fast, and is actually pretty useful for combat. The monsters, meanwhile, look like something straight out of Shin, one resembling Shin himself, or Batman if you'd prefer, another being the requisite bat monster, and the requisite spider monster that took a different approach. As you can see, there's stop motion in this film, and it doesn't always look that great, with the frame rate being very inconsistent, but I'll give filmmakers credit for trying something different. Acting is nondescript, with nobody having any standout performances in particular, but nobody is offensively bad either. As we'll discuss in a minute, it's not entirely the actor's fault. The music is fine for the most part, but the ED, Love Doesn't Stop, is pretty damn catchy. The story begins mysteriously enough with our actually unnamed hero in a cave. Yes, his name is Masaru Aso according to supplementary materials on the wiki, and I'll obviously refer to him as such, but he's not given a name other than Rider throughout the whole movie. He initially lost his memories, but quickly recovers them through a series of psychic visions before resolving to protect a kid named Hiroshi Mochizuki, son of the man who turned Masaru into Kamen Rider Zeto. One monster transforms from a cocoon thing into Doras the Exploras here. He chases after Hiroshi until Zeto jumps in to save him in a pretty epic fight scene with quite the ending. Hiroshi is understandably frightened by Zeto coming home and telling his grandfather, Seikichi, about what happened. What follows then is a series of monster attacks, fights, chases, and so on, rarely ever stopping for anything resembling characterization. Normally when I criticize the pacing on a show or a film, it's when the subject feels very slow and boring. Here the pacing is way too fast, and despite the fight scenes being pretty good, we don't get anything resembling a story until the final battle. While it's foreshadowed early on that the ostensibly mad scientist Professor Mochizuki is the usual bad guy that gave the writer his powers, Hiroshi mentions he's a good man that deeply cared about him, but maybe got too busy with his experiments every so often. He gave Hiroshi this plot device watch that plays music. Turns out, Hiroshi was right. When Zeto tracks down Hiroshi after yet another kidnapping, he finds the professor stuck to a wall alien style, where the real bad guy is revealed to be the Neo life form, a sentient pool of goo that wants to become the ultimate life form. Not that one, but I'll get to that another day. The professor tried to stop this from happening, and thus the creature went mad. Its creepy, childlike demeanor is compounded by effects that look just off enough that it works in this thing's favor. The fight continues a bit, Masaru gets absorbed into Doras, the watch plays some music to set Masaru free, bing bang boom, he wins, the professor dies, Hiroshi returns to his grandpa and thanks Rider for saving him, the end. If it sounds like I missed anything, I didn't. That's the long and short of the film, and by film I mean 48 minutes special. Overall, I give Kamen Rider Zeto a 5 out of 10. It comes across as an effects reel with a story shoved in at the last second. While the subversion of the whole mad scientist trope was sort of neat, no regard is given to the story. The fights are cool, but without a proper story to string them together, you might as well be playing the inexplicably released in the US Sega CD game, The Masked Rider, Kamen Rider Zeto. I'm not going to cover that. I don't have the game or a Sega CD, and from what I understand, it's literally just the movie with scenes missing and button prompts. Like Shin, this was meant to become a series, but creative differences prevented that from happening. A sequel was almost made, but for one reason or another, our next subject, Kamen Rider J, was made in its place. Kamen Rider J is yet another standalone 48-minute film released on April 16, 1994, also directed by Keita Amamiya. It follows nature photographer Koji Segawa as he tries to save a girl named Kana from a bunch of ancient aliens called the Fog. Before I even touch on anything to do with the film itself, if Koji looks familiar, that's because he's played by Yuta Mochizuki, aka Geki or Tyranno Ranger from Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger, making him one of the few actors to be both a Sentai warrior and a Kamen Rider. Now if Jay's suit looks familiar, that's because the producers wanted him and Zeto to become the new double riders like Ichigo and Nigo before them. For future reference, Zeto has gold lines on the suit and a round gem where the henshin belts would be, and Jay has lighter green lines in the place of the gold and an arrowhead-shaped gem. Also, Koji does get a proper henshin belt in civilian form. As such, Jay's design gets the same. It's fine that it gave to Zeto's design. The monsters are another matter. We get humanoids that change into a quadrupedal Post-Asukas looking monster, a flying insectoid female monster with a visible human mouth, and this vaguely mechanical looking guy. They all serve the Fog Mother, this eye with a voice whose powered up form is the Fog's base itself. A very mechanical, almost factory-like monster, which makes sense because it's filled with eggs. All the effects portraying these characters is solid, with a couple instances of dodgy green screen here and there. Music, once again, is fine, as is the ED, Hearts Connect's Love. The story begins with a Fog seeking a sacrifice to feed to a nest full of monster eggs to initiate a routine feast of Earth's inhabitants that occurs once every millennium. One notable occurrence was when they apparently caused the extinction of the dinosaurs 7 billion years ago. No, not even close. The dinosaurs disappeared 65 million years ago. The Earth itself isn't even 7 billion years old. The Fog find Koji and Kana hanging out in nature and they attack. Kana is kidnapped and Koji is apparently killed by being shoved off a cliff. A talking grasshopper named Barry finds him and brings him underground, where these beings called groundlings revive him with J-power, power from the Earth itself, turning him into Kamen Rider J. Jay now has to save Kana from the Fog and stop the Fog from destroying the world. Barry, a decent animatronic, follows Koji around to give him advice. The fights all escalate in craziness as the movie goes on, starting with fighting Agito, that's really his name and you should know I'm not referring to that one, continuing to Zoo, which turns into this flight sequence, proceeding to Garai, who has Black RX's Revocaine, and culminating in the Fog Mother herself. How can Jay possibly fight this thing without a mecha? Turn giant himself, of course, thanks to the groundlings. This was a result of the Toei executives watching a bit too much Ultraman. The pacing dials the speed back just enough that we learn that Koji has a name and a job, but besides being a good-natured hero, there's just not that much to him. Despite that, he's still a step above Masaru in the characterization department, just not by much. Kana's just a MacGuffin, giving me Zyuranger flashbacks. The Fog are just generic omnicidal villains, even if their designs are cool. Overall, I give Kamen Rider J a 7 out of 10. With subjects this short, I have to start prioritizing how fun the work is, and with the craziness of the action, makes this one a lot of fun. It still has several narrative shortcomings, but little things like the addition of a proper henshin sequence, Barry, and the sudden giant mode add up to something of an underrated curiosity, making this the best of the 3 90s Rider films. But we're not done yet, though. I've got one more 90s Rider thing to show you. It's the big crossover film, Kamen Rider World. And by big crossover film, I mean 8-minute short that was attached to Super Sentai World and Toei Hero Daishugo and was screened at theme parks. Shadow and Moon from Kamen Rider Black summons a Rhino monster from Black, Goshima from Shin, and all the monsters from J. Barry finds a random hiking couple and warns them about the danger. They run away. Zeto and J appear and kick the monsters' asses. J fights Giant Shadow Moon and wins. Team up, handshake, ride into the sunset. Oh, and this film was in 3D, by the way, can't you tell? Overall, I can't actually give Kamen Rider World a score at all. It's a theme park film. The action's fine, the story can barely be considered bare bones, but it's fan-servicey fun. Okay, one nitpick. Was there really a reason to have the couple be there? On a final note, footage from both Zeto and J made their way into Saban's Masked Rider, an adaptation of Black RX. I'd be happy to cover that monstrosity if I can locate footage for it. So that's it for me for now. What do you guys think? Have you seen any of these movies? Do you prefer Zeto or J? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, leave a like and subscribe for more reviews of anime, video games, and movies. Also hit that bell icon so you know exactly when a new video goes up, and share this video with someone who might find it helpful. Thanks for watching. This is Brian from Mechbladestudios, signing off.